Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Boobies and Newbies. You can follow us at Boobies Podcast on both Instagram and Twitter. And if you'd like to support the podcast and get a little extra bonus Boobies content every month, you can support us on Patreon at Boobies Podcast. Welcome to Boobies and Newbies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today I'm joined by friend, actor, and fellow Alameda High School alum, Go Hornets. Please welcome Nathan Brown. What's up, Nathan?
Good. Hi.
It's a little early, and I have to mention that this is the second time Nathan and I are recording this podcast due to the, let's say, ghosts that haunt my Audacity recording.
Yeah.
So, for those of you that are lucky enough to follow us on Patreon, we'll definitely be throwing up some good excerpts from our first recording. Not the best sound quality, but I feel like there was a conversation about vampires that needs to be heard by the
100%,
world.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your dad, right, that's obsessed with vampires?
Yeah, he's all into fantasy stuff. So
I love it.
I mean, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be an actor, right? So
Thanks. You go.
Thanks, Dad.
There you go. Did you grow up on monster movies or fantasy movies?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, he's very into just family. I mean, he's the one that got me into comic books and stuff, so I get to claim some sense of before Iron Man ownership of nerd culture.
So you were a fan of Marvel before everyone was a fan of Marvel movies.
Yeah. My dad was really big into X-Men and Fantastic Four and stuff like that when I was growing up. So I'd grow up reading, I think it's probably the first thing I read was a comic book, and then
oh, there you go.
So yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. We're actually going to be talking about fan fiction on our Spotlight episode this month, which I honestly don't know that much about. It's not something that I've really dabbled in.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about fan fiction. And have you ever been a fan fiction reader?
Not really. I think I don't know. I feel like I may put fan fiction in a little bit of a box that it doesn't belong in. Maybe I know that there have been fan fictions that people have written that are actually good and have gone to thing. I think when I associate fan fiction with very sexually outlandish situations between characters, which is not bad.
Me too. Where it's people want certain characters to get together and they're obviously not going to in the series or book or whatever it is, so they kind of create their own fantasy world.
Yeah. Or the two characters that are not interested in each other, whether it because their sexuality doesn't go that way or because they're just that's not a thing that they would write fan fiction for them or something.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know. I like a story that's pretty motivated, and that doesn't mean that the fan fiction can't be motivated. It just seems when it's all motivated by having, I just said motivated a lot. When it's all motivated by having two characters get together that have no real background and why they would. That to me is
So in the world of Marvel, I mean, you didn't secretly harbor a hope that Iron Man and Thor would totally bone?
No. I think for me it would be more bring Natalie Portman back so that Thor can be, that stuff, where that would be something I'd read, where the adventures of Thor and Jane, outside of something, or
I would read that too, because I loved the first Thor movie. I mean, I don't have the background in Marvel Universe that you do, but I loved the first movie, and I was wait, what happened to Natalie Portman?
Yeah. They don't, I feel I think she didn't want to be in it, so I think props to her for deciding to do her own thing.
Right.
But I also am man, but I really liked, she's so great, I'll watch her in anything.
Yeah, for real.
Let's be honest, the only reason I watched the first 3 Star Wars movies is mainly because of Natalie Portman and a little bit because of Ewan McGregor, so
oh yeah, I'm all about Ewan.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome.
Oh, Ewan. Down with love, Ewan.
Oh, so good. Look at that.
The best. Yeah, again, these
Patreon listeners will know.
We need to talk about, we definitely made a reference to Down with Love in our previous recording, which hopefully will naturally find its way back into the conversation this time. But it's hard to recreate a conversation.
I know.
So, we're definitely going to go into this just planning to talk about the book and whatever should arise. It might be better than what we talked about before.
Who knows? Yeah.
Different. Doesn't matter. It's absolutely fine. So the book we're going to be talking about today is Heartthrob by Robin Bielman. And this contemporary romance is hot off the presses. This was published just a few days ago on May 7th, 2019. And it's available on Amazon for $2.99 Kindle edition. Such a deal. I'll also mention this is book 1 in the American Royalty series, and it's our second podcast on sports romance that we're doing this month. You know, spring baseball and all that,
yeah,
right?
Know.
They go together.
Spring training, spring cleaning, baseball.
Where's the spring cleaning romance? Where's my, like, Marie Kondo
There
romance?
you go. Or, yeah, like where's the romance between, like, I don't know what I'm saying. Never mind, sorry.
The baseball player and the organizer, like professional
that
organizer.
would be a whole thing.
I would so read that.
Yeah.
I would so read that. So I'm looking forward if somebody's
You need to clean up your locker, pal. Why don't you come over here and do it for me?
Oh my gosh. So she's a professional organizer in the locker room?
Well, she's getting it ready for the press conference after the first big game. And she's like, you got it, because they go in there, it's got to be like appropriately messy. I'm writing this
Nathan,
right now.
You've got a novel right here. Like, you've got yourself a romance novel. You need to pen this, copyright everything. Have you ever thought about what your, like, writer's name would be? Or your, like...
Well, I have to have a different name for acting, so that's a little bit of a thing. It took me a while to come up with one, because Nathan Brown is... tad generic, so there's already a Nathan Brown in the Union.
But it just rolls off the tongue. Nathan
I know.
Brown.
That's what I thought, but I decided to go with Nathan Zachary because it's my middle name. So
okay, cool. So that's
like,
your professional name is Nathan Zachary?
Yeah, well, because I don't want to, like, I don't think I'd respond. If someone was like, hey, idiot, I'd be like, what? But if someone called me by, like, another name, I would respond. If someone, so a couple people were like, oh, change your name to, like, take your middle name as your first name or something. But I'm like, I feel like it's more natural in conversation for someone to say, just call me Nathan.
Well, and I would just talk to them. If you took your middle name as your first name, you'd be Zach Brown. And there's, like, Zach
a band
Brown
already.
Band.
Yeah.
So...
Also, like... There was a time in my life when I was younger that certain parties in my life may have compared me to a certain Zach actor, and that haunts me to this very day.
The Zach actor.
Yes, and since I don't look that much like him anymore, it's just one of those things that, like, haunts me. But
I can see it though. I can definitely see, like, the visual comparison.
I feel like I would play, like, his darker younger brother or something, like, in a movie.
Well, now he's fucking playing Ted Bundy, so I mean, you can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah, the world is my oyster.
Speaking of Netflix shows, we definitely have to give a shout out to our friend
Emilio.
Yes. Emilio Garcia Sanchez?
Yes.
Sanchez Garcia.
Sure. I just call him Emilio.
Just Emilio.
Emilio, you're just my homie, and I call you Emilio.
Emilio is a fellow AHS alum.
Woo woo, go Hornets.
Every time. And he's currently starring in the show The Society on Netflix. Yeah. So if anybody hasn't checked it out yet,
please go watch it.
Yeah, total binge worthy too. Yeah. Like, I think I'm on like 5 episodes in. And I started yesterday, so.
Yeah. If you like Lord of the Flies and like dark teen dramas, which, I mean, come on.
Who doesn't really?
Who doesn't
love? Everyone loves a dark teen drama.
Yeah.
It's I love it. It's the drama that I'm like, thank God I don't have this in my life. But you know what? I'm absolutely fine watching it happen.
And even if you don't like it, watch it anyway.
Yeah.
Just come on, pump those numbers up. Season 2.
Yeah. And you know what? The cast is like super good looking.
Yeah.
And really,
I mean, Emilio's in it, and he's super good looking. So.
Yeah. He wears a shiny vest at one point, and I was like, ooh, Emilio. But yeah, no, it's definitely worth watching and super fun. You'll fly through it, and yay, go Emilio!
Go Emilio!
Okay, back to the book. Yeah. So, book 1 in the American Royalty series. I was asked to read an advanced reader copy of this book from Tool Publishing. Thank you, Tool Publishing, for that. Disclaimer, the opinions expressed in this review by Nathan and I are entirely of our own. Tool Publishing also, by the way, is here in California. They describe themselves as an author-centric publisher. So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I don't really know anything about them, so I'm going to have to research more into Tool Publishing. And if Heartthrob is anything to go by, I'm definitely going to be reading more from them.
There we go.
So that's that. Okay, so before reading Heartthrob, I feel like...
You have to say it like that.
Yeah, because like, it's really not that sexy of a title, but it's got the word throb in it. So I'm like, okay, like there it is.
Clever.
Before reading Heartthrob, had you ever read a romance novel before?
No. I've walked by them before, but I've never actually cracked one open.
You've walked by them. Okay, so like at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, or like in like I feel like in Vons and Safeway from those that are from the Bay Area, like they've got that like aisle where there's the magazines, and then above them is all of the romance novels, or like. And
it's only ever like romance novels or like James Patterson books.
Like,
I feel like
that's
those
true.
are like the only book options available at whatever your supermarket is.
Yeah.
It's a weird combo.
They're like, we're gonna hit like the young adult crowd with the James Patterson, and we're gonna hit like the romance novel crowd with the what are romance novels.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because I mean, it's so gender stereotyping, but when you think about like who's doing the shopping and the cooking and the cleaning and everything, it generally, again, stereotyping is women, and so it would be safe to say they're trying to hit their target demographic, I guess. Like, while you're at the grocery store picking up dinner, might as well also pick up a
romance novel, because your husband's not playing out.
Yeah.
I wonder. I would actually be curious though. Like now that we're moving into a more like gender neutral as far as the gender roles that are played in the typical family, especially as you get close to the more like liberal areas of the country.
Absolutely.
But I would say even probably all throughout the country, like as people are beginning to go, the woman's the one that works the job and maybe like the man's the one that stays at home. I'd be curious to see like if those sales have been affected, because it's probably definitely a demographic thing.
That's true.
But I wonder if like if they've actually like gone down in sales as more men. Although, I mean, men can enjoy these too, so who knows? Like, it'd be interesting just to see what those statistics are.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see what the sales of books at grocery stores is in general. Like, are people really I know I've definitely bought a book at a grocery store before, but I don't know how often it's happening, but they're still doing it. So, I mean, I feel like it's gotta be...
Same with, like, the movies and stuff that are there.
Yeah. Like are people really still buying DVDs, let alone buying them at the grocery store? You know?
Yeah. I feel like my general rule is usually, like, if I like the movie enough... It's the same thing with CDs. Like, I'll still buy a CD if it's a band that, like, I'm really into. Yeah. Which I'm sure is going to be at some point... I was going to make, if I have children, my kids' eyes roll in the back of their head like, oh my god, Dad, you still buy
this is called a
audio
CD.
discs? You're so weird.
I know, well, it's kind of like, our generation with vinyl. You know what I mean? Although I feel like they're bringing vinyl back.
I for sure have vinyl in my apartment.
But do you have new vinyl where it's like, oh, Ed Sheeran's new CD, but on vinyl?
Yeah.
Really?
Like, I have Finished Tickets album on vinyl. I have a Young the Giant CD on vinyl. I have, Yeah, I mean, I do, but I mean, it was more like a phase I was in for a little bit, so I have like one of those like suitcase vinyl players, but I never take it out because like MP3 is way more convenient. Right. But it's more like, it's cool, like every once in a while to like break it out,
You're faux hipster.
One day,
I mean, like, the way.
I feel like we grew up where hipster was like originated, so like I feel like I've got to.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like,
it's just part of us. Like, we grew up next to
I can't help
Berkeley.
it. Yeah. I walk around with like a beanie in my back pocket sometimes, and people are like, what is that for? And I'm like, what if it gets cold? And they're like, when?
Or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I was listening to this show on the radio the other day where they were talking about the worst fashion or style faux pas that like everyone's made through, the years. And people would call in and be like, oh my God, I had this really bad haircut, or I wore saggy pants. And one guy was like, yeah, I was like that guy that wore a beanie like every day, like regardless of whether it was cold outside. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, he's probably from Northern California.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I started wearing one because when I went to SF State for a little bit, it would get San Francisco like go through so many weird weather changes that like it's always going through menopause or something that like you never know. You could go into one class and it would be like 73, and then you'd get out and it would be like 68
it's
or
like
something.
Always going to the movies where it's like inside the movie theater it's like freezing, but then outside it's super
it's
hot.
Fine. And so that's what it started. And now whenever like I go out for the night or something, I always throw a beanie in my back pocket, and people are like, why do you have this?
Because that beanie kid.
I'm like, you never know when you need a beanie.
It's true. Okay, so you had walked past lots of romance novels.
Yes.
Had you ever thought about picking up one, or it just never really, it was just kind of like in the periphery, like you didn't, it never really crossed your path?
I'm sure it's some combination of like not having a lot of interest, but also there being that like stigma around it as like a man, you're not supposed to read that froofy stuff, you know, like I think as much as self-aware as I try to be as like a straight white male, there's definitely things that like that are unavoidable, right? Things you don't realize that are ingrained in you, and
it's just
you
there.
know, part of it is like I think part of like being as much of an ally as possible is always being willing to readjust like what you observe or what like your privilege or all that stuff. And I think the other side of that coin is also like, you know, again going back to gender roles, it's like I don't think that it's taught that men are supposed to be able to read things like Heartthrob, or anything like that, because those are
which is so
girl
disappointing.
things.
I mean, it's, you know, hashtag toxic masculinity.
No,
but
100%. Yeah.
I mean, it's also, it's so funny because I feel like we've had a pretty good split of male and female guests on this show, and I feel like the male guests we've had have enjoyed the books just as much, if not more, than the female guests. And it's one of those things that you just don't. You're right. I mean, it's definitely ingrained in you that this is not something that you're supposed to be reading, or doing, or watching, or whatever. And
well, I mean, if you want to apply it practically too, it's like if you're gonna sex somebody, right? Most of the time, women are going to be more turned on by this than like an unsolicited picture of your dick. So it's like if you learn how to write something like this, like the most times that I've turned on a woman via text, it's been because I wrote something. Yeah. Something that is very like something that like it gets them going, right? So like for guys, like if you want a roadmap to how to turn on a woman, it's kind of like this writing,
and that's
you know?
so true. Like as a woman on the receiving end of said text, like I'm with you. I feel like the descriptions of things are 100%. So much sexier. Yeah. I mean, it's really the foreplay. It's so much sexier than like the actual just boom dick. Yeah, there it is.
Exactly. Like, well, and also like guys, like unless like for us, I feel like unless you've got like chiseled abs and everything, like I think like, you know, and I think most guys and probably most girls will agree with me, like the woman's body is a little bit more photogenic than a man's body unless you're like super cut or something. So I feel like it's another thing, like if you're gonna be trying, if you're interested in a woman or something and you're trying to arouse her, then this kind of writing is, and there's a way to do it, and the only way to learn is by reading this stuff.
It's true. And you know what, this book specifically has a good amount of time before they actually hook up too in it, so there's definitely a lot of the back and forth. I don't want to call it the chase because it's not really like someone's chasing someone in this book. I mean, they're both interested. It's
more like the tug of war, but at the end, whoever wins is going to be a win for both of them.
Yeah, so, everybody wins. Everybody wins. Okay, so before we get into our thoughts on Heartthrob, let me give everyone a brief synopsis straight from Amazon.com about what you can expect from Robin Bielman's book. Here we go. He likes a challenge. Here's the deal. I'm the best center fielder in the major leagues. I'm also the guy who cost his team the championship game and acted very unsportsmanlike. So when the team hires a social media manager to repair the damage to my reputation, I don't argue. But then I meet Chloe Conrad and I suddenly understand what people mean when they say they have an instant connection to someone, which means I'm in serious trouble. Chloe's a smart, sexy distraction I can't afford, but one date can't hurt, right? Only she turns me down, and just like that, it's game on. She's sworn off love. Finn O'Prince is the hottest player in the major leagues. Look up It Factor in the dictionary, and there's his handsome face. He's also my biggest client, and I don't care how easy it is to talk to him or how fun it is to manage his social media accounts. I will not give in to his charms. Then, one drunken night, I tell him about my curse. All my previous boyfriends have found their soulmates while dating me. One more heartbreak and I'll never recover. But Finn doesn't believe in curses. He believes in me, professionally and personally. He sets out to prove the universe isn't against me and that his one true love isn't waiting around the corner. The problem is, can we play the game of love and both come out on top? Answer, yes.
Yeah.
Bam.
I mean, you just have to switch up the positions midway through, but yeah. You could
there you go, exactly. Overall, there was an excerpt from Bookgasm's Book Blogs review. Love the title of that blog, by the way, Bookgasms.
Yeah.
Which said, there is nothing I love more than a book that puts a giant schmoopy smile on my face for almost the entire story. And I wrote, accurate. So this is definitely one of those books where it had me smiling throughout. I mean, I don't think it's without its faults. I mean, everything is right,
yeah.
you know, and it's all interpretational. But overall, this is a book I would definitely recommend. I enjoyed reading it start to finish. I know we both talked about it in our previous recording, but it was a quick read for you too, right?
Yeah, I read it in one sitting.
Yeah.
I just kind of, I mean, like, I try to do that with books anyways, but still, like, it was pretty easy for me to sit down. I think it's reminiscent of, like, probably the relationship that everyone either wishes they had or have had at some point. That kind of, like, their rapport is very real. Just everything about them, like, that the kind of flirtation that, like, even from the get-go of it, you know, from their very first meeting, there's some kind of draw to one another, and I think that's what everyone kind of hopes for. So it's like, as you're reading it, you're almost like, you are very much so, and I guess that's what books do, but you are very much so kind of vicariously living through them.
Yeah, and it's easy, too. I mean, like, for the most part, it's a very real relationship where they don't just, like, jump into bed together. I mean, they're working together. They have a super awkward first meet where they, like, get in a car crash, basically, and she's just been dumped by the guy she thought was going to propose, and he's, like, one of many boyfriends who, while dating her, has met the person that they go on to be with.
Yeah, that's the referred to curse.
Yeah, and then for him, he, you know, got injured in the World Series, lost the World Series, and now he's, like, recuperating. And so they're both coming from, you know, not so great starting points, but, I mean, just the way they work together and talk with each other. And
there's also the whole aspect of, like, her dad not liking him as well.
Yeah, and that's, like, I mean, you definitely have, like, the fact that Finn O'Prince, or O'Prance. Yeah, I wish I could say he was, like, a saucy Frenchman, but I don't think so.
I'm sure the family probably is from France or something, but he doesn't have, like, a French accent or anything like that.
Which usually, if they do have some sort of, like, accent, is written into books. Like, you'll read it that way, which can be very hard, especially with, like, Scottish accents. But
Scouse.
That's not the case with Finn O'Prince.
Yeah.
And but no, you're right. I mean, he's a baseball player, and so of course the moment that's mentioned in the synopsis about him being unsportsmanlike involved Chloe's dad, who's an umpire.
Yeah.
So there's obviously the whole meet the parents kind of thing. That's like, oh, well, this is going to be doubly awkward because I yelled at you.
Almost like a star-crossed lover kind of thing, sort of, because it's like they're not supposed to. You have that, like, you know, Romeo and Juliet aspect of it, where it's like they're not supposed to because she hates him because he's a jerk, you know, not a Capulet, but like a jerk.
I mean, I feel like you see that set up a lot in romance novels where it's the, someone who's like damaged or like they're bruised but not broken, you know, kind of thing, and so they have an attitude. I have to give him credit though. I mean, that was kind of one of the refreshing things is he could have been like a whole lot surlier or more aggressive because, you know, the world is down on him. Like, you know, like he has this injury and like he's bored sitting at home, which I totally get that he's like going stir crazy. But it wasn't like that. It was that he, you know, just kind of is like trying to recover and she comes into his life and it's like one more thing to have to deal with. Yeah. But they make it work. And
well, I think that like they did a good job motivating why he wasn't like you know, I think it's rare for a guy or for anyone really to be brought up in like that kind of affluence and be this crazy, like super humble, well-rounded dude. I'm not saying that you can't be, but I'm saying that more often than not, especially in like literature and the TV shows we watch, the movies we watch, like there's always that guy who has all the money in the world and is also like a sweet person who understands people and somehow has is a voice of like lower class people, and you know, even though he's like upper crust of society or something, and I feel like that's usually unrealistic. The jerk with the heart of gold thing, like I think it's detrimental to just like society, especially bringing up like young women and young men. The boys will be boys aspect of the whole thing.
Absolutely,
where it's like
not.
that thing where it's like, oh well, he's being mean, but like that's why he pulls Sally's hair, is because, you know, he really likes her.
Oh yeah, I'm so done with
like,
that, with like the being mean to girls
because
we like them kind of thing. Yeah,
and I feel like sometimes like those characters get played out, you know, and as adults in our content where we see guys who are like womanizers and stuff, but you know they're really good guys, but he treats you like garbage and sleeps with other women, but it's because he loves you, and so he's running away from his feelings for you.
Inside, he doesn't know how to handle his feelings. Like,
and I'm like, well then fuck him. He can go to therapy and get over his own shit. Like, it's not the women are not the custodians of the world, and then like not the custodians of men's psyches. Like, and so I think like it was nice in this book, like having a motivation as to why this previously affluent person prior to his like career as a baseball player was a relatively humble and well-rounded guy. Like having that aspect of dyslexia in it and having that be like he can't read anything, and that in and of itself I feel like would be a huge kind of humbling thing.
Yeah, the dyslexia storyline for him I thought was great in that he, you know, I mean, he basically talks about how there's moments where he seems like he's being a jerk, and then he knows he's being a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, he's so self-aware of like how he's acting, but you can let it go to the point because you realize that he's had so many times where people have told him like, oh, you don't need to worry about school, or like, you know, you don't need to worry about this. Like, you just play baseball. You're stupid. Play baseball.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I mean, I've never experienced. I haven't had dyslexia or something like that, and so I can't imagine what it's like. But yeah, it's weird being told, you know, like you have this gift and just do that. Like you can't do anything else.
Yeah.
So it was a nice little side story for him to have, and I think you're right. It definitely made him more humble and more relatable.
Yeah, and something that you could understand. Yeah, like I think that's like I had a friend who was dyslexic in high school, and I remember he used to have to take extra time for his tests, like especially in English class, like writing his essays, he had to take more time because he had to switch the letters back manually, like in his head. Every word he wrote, he had to change. And he's one of the hardest working guys I ever knew. But every year, he was in every one of my English classes, I think, all throughout high school.
Oh, wow, okay.
You know, Andrew always ended up being in there. And I remember every year watching him have the same conversation with even teachers I liked who, like, it's hard, you know, when a student comes in and asks for extra time on a test, it sounds like a bullshit reason. And, you know, he had to come up with doctor's notes. And
like, you just weren't working hard enough.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I'm trying to work harder.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
be able to finish this.
Yeah, and like teachers would, like, the first couple essays, teachers would, like, sit next to him while he was doing it as a way to try and make sure that he wasn't trying to take more time and stuff. And it's like, you know, he never complained or anything like that, but it's like that's almost harder to watch someone like go through something and not complain, you know, like it's hard to watch someone not cry. Like, you know, they want to cry.
You want to cry for them. I mean,
and they're trying so hard not to, and you're like it's the same thing. I think watching him kind of try and be so strong about it, I was just like,
well, and in this story, I like that it's not just like mentioned like, oh, he has dyslexia, or like it's used as like an excuse or anything. I mean, really, one of the sweetest things to me is that there's a moment where he's texting Chloe and she says like, oh my gosh, I know what a big deal it is for him to be texting me and not calling, because that's hard for him. And when they start actually like getting together and they talk about 50 Shades of Grey / Dorian Gray, because we can't keep them straight. And she offers to like read to him before bed. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. So I like that they kind of took the author took something that, you know, would necessarily be like a flaw for someone, which it's not, but then turning it into like this something that's these two people can, you know, bond over,
like sharing
and, like,
together,
turn into a beautiful thing together. So I thought that was very sweet of Robin Bielman.
Although I did just think of like, if unless he's talking about the movie League of the Extraordinary Gentlemen, how does he know what League of the Extraordinary Gentlemen is if reading for him is hard? It just started for me. I mean, there is the movie. The movie is fantastic. I love the movie. It's very old now, but it's a great movie.
Christian Grey, Dorian Gray, basically the same thing.
Speaking of fan fiction, because wasn't 50 Shades of Grey
fan
fiction for Twilight?
Fiction that they made.
Which, I mean, like, if you really wanted, you know, again, like, you can never really judge anything, right? Because like that author made so much money off of like fan fiction that they wrote over an already monopolized IP.
And it became a series, and it became a film series. She actually just released a new book too, that I'm like trying to decide if I want to read, because I've read 50 Shades and like the whole series, and I mean, it's not the best writing. Like, so, but you have to give her credit for, like, bringing people into the genre and, like, again, like you said, writing a fan fiction for something that was already such a big enterprise. Like, it's insane. But anyway, we could talk about 50 Shades of Grey all day long.
Just in summation, game recognized game.
What else did you like about Heartthrob? What about Chloe? What did you think about Chloe's character and her story?
I enjoyed reading from Chloe's perspective more than I enjoyed reading from Finn's.
Oh, good.
I tend to have more, I don't know, I think I have more of an issue with, I'm very critical of men, as I'm sure you'll probably hear over the course of this podcast. Like, I think sometimes I go a little too far in one direction, but growing up, my friends were always girls. Like, I didn't get along with guys that often, so I always felt like I was kind of listening to the pain that women were going through at the hands of men. So I have a little bit more of an issue with guys, and especially in the beginning, like, I think as the story went on, they rounded him out nicely, but in the first, like, couple pages, I remember being like, this dude is, not only do I feel like guys don't tend to think about how great they are in conscious thought, like, I think it's more of a, like, imbuement and, like, subconsciously, like, you just think you're the best. But also, I was like, I don't need to read about another dude who thinks he's, God's gift to man.
Because we haven't read or seen or watched enough of that.
I've never met that guy in L.A. And, but as it went on, like, he definitely got better. They rounded him out. I enjoyed reading from his perspective, but I think I liked reading from Chloe's more. I think she's definitely someone that, like, I would be attracted to if she was a real person that I ran into. I'd be, like, all about it.
And she's somebody I would want to be friends with, too. Like, I mean, you see her with, they both have other relationships, which I think is so important, not just in stories, but also in real life. Like,
absolutely.
I can't stand when you date someone and, like, you're the only person they have. Like, everybody needs to have their own lives, their own hobbies, their own people. And, but so she has her friends, she has her dad who's suffering from this disease, and she's, taking care of him. She has the whole awful storyline of, like, her curse, and that the boyfriend that keeps haunting her, basically. Yeah. What a douche. But yeah, you're right. I mean, she really is fun, and she knows what she wants. Yeah. And I like that she's really good at her job. Like, from the get-go, it's not that she learns what she wants to do in life. It's like she actually knows, and she's doing it, and she's damn good at it. Yeah.
For me, I think the most attractive thing, there are many, but I think one of the more attractive things is a woman who's, like, an authority in her field. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need to be, like, for me personally, like, it never needs to be any particular field, but, like, having someone be able to speak with an authority about whatever they do, whatever they're interested in, like, that's very sexy. So I think that, like, that was a good addition on her part, is not only rounding her out as a character, but is, like, also make her, like, at the forefront of what she's doing. Mm-hmm. Like, that's right.
And we see her being rewarded for it, too. Yeah. Like, we see her actually, she's doing a good job, and people are recognizing that and offering her other opportunities, which leads to, like, a weird, kind of like their little, breakup, like, end of Act 2 moment between her and Finn. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, I did really enjoy the role she plays in her job and the person she is. I like, too, we mentioned that it does take place in LA, and there's, like, a few moments where I thought it was cute that they have, like, little LA moments. He lives in Malibu in this, like, beautiful house where he has a baseball field in his backyard.
I know. Goals right there.
God, someday. And my favorite is that when she and her friend have their Friendsgiving, like, a couple days before Thanksgiving, they go and get tacos, like, in Venice Beach. Yeah. It was like, that might be what I do for Thanksgiving next year.
Super LA Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
right
like,
there.
I'm like, who needs the turkey?
No.
Tacos on the beach. Yay! Yeah. So, Friendsgiving. Sounds good to me.
There it is.
Oh, it is a very current story. Like, you can definitely tell it's very 2019.
Yeah.
There's the whole thing about social media and image, and I like, too, that it doesn't focus on that. Like, it's not about who you are on camera versus, like, who you are in real life. Like, she really does, Chloe does a great job of, like, capturing who Finn is naturally. Yeah. Like, it's not like she's trying to make him do all these, like, gross poses or, like, opportunities, so it definitely, again, was, like, one more thing to show she's a good person and not, like, exploiting him, which is rare for social media related.
I know, which is crazy, because I feel like that's what social media is supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be, like, just like a distilled version of who you are.
It should
but
be.
So many people try so much to
Yeah.
make their lives look like it's something that it's
oh my gosh.
not,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, that's the reason, like, I've had people ask me, like, why I don't try to start something on social media. Like, why don't you try and, like, you know, be a social media personality? And I'm like, because honestly, like, I don't think I'm interesting enough to, like, have a following. Like, I don't do that much stuff. Like, my whole life is revolved around, like, one goal for
and
years.
yours would be real. I mean, and it's hard because it's true. I read something from a social media influencer where it was talking about how she spent like 45 minutes trying to take like the perfect Instagram picture.
Yeah.
And it was like all about the different angles and the different light and like, you know, doing this and how does that change, you know, there's like
The
a whole
look,
science behind it. And
I know.
I'm like, kudos to the people who know how to, you know, play
Do
the
that,
game.
yeah.
But at the same time, you're right. I mean, it really just kind of goes against the whole idea of it, doesn't it?
Like,
You
I have
know?
a hard enough time trying to remember to, like, post a story, or because, like, as you know, as a modern day or a current, like, actor or musician or artist or model or whatever, like, you got to build some kind of brand online or have some kind of presence. So it's like, it's hard enough for me to remember, like, take, you know, stories. Like, I had an audition yesterday at a Film Independent, which was really exciting because I've never been to that casting office before. And like, as I'm walking out, I'm like, oh shit, I should probably like do a story of this or something.
I saw your story.
Yeah, like but like that stuff where it's like, for me, it's like, it's always like the second thought.
afterthought.
Like, I finished the audition, it went really well, and I was like skipping out, and then I was like,
Right.
wait, I gotta like do this. You know,
Yeah.
like, my first thought is to, I don't need to share this with anyone. Like, I'll tell people that I care about.
You mean your first thought is to live in the moment
Yeah.
and enjoy it?
Yeah,
What?
I know, how preposterous.
How dare you? You know what's so funny too is I just got a new phone recently, and when we were getting it, you know, the whole process of getting a phone always takes way longer than it should. But I swear we were there for like 30 minutes extra because I made the mistake of asking. I was like, can I transfer the photos from my previous phone onto this one? And he's like, yeah. And so we started transferring it, and I had like, and I'm sure this isn't even a lot compared to some people, I had like 2,000 photos on my last phone.
Okay.
And as they're transferring, I'm just like watching them scroll by, and I'm like, why do I have that picture? Like, what is that? You know, but there were other ones too where I'd see them and think, oh, I forgot I did that.
Yeah.
Or I forgot I saw that show or did, you know, dinner with that person. Like,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm iffy on the whole subject of, like, capturing the moments on
Yeah.
film. Like, nothing bothers me more, though, than going to, like, a concert and seeing every fucking person with their phone in their hand. Like, I'm like, are you even watching it, or are you watching it through
Are you
your
watching
phone?
yourself watch it?
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, that's like some Black Mirror shit
Yeah,
right there.
that's really what it is. Like, because you're looking directly into camera, so you're looking at yourself, not look at what's going on. I mean, my grandma's a big. I've been really fortunate to have like really great just grandparents in my life, and one of them is really, really active, and she loves taking pictures. And I am not. I don't think I'm a particularly photogenic person. Like, especially like headshots are terrible for me. If you roll a camera, I don't really care what I look like. That's the problem. Exactly. And so when it comes to headshots, like, you got to look like down the lens, which is not something you never really do on film. Like, unless you're in like Deadpool, where like you're going to be looking at, like, which that would be a lot of fun too. But again, like because in that instance, it doesn't really matter what you look like. You remember to keep your chin down a little bit, and that's it. Like, you're just being you. With still pictures, I always hated them, but like the older I get, now that I've reached, you know, like the ripe age of 25,
it's all downhill from here, buddy.
The more I like, you know, I'm glad that like I'm sure it was like pulling teeth for her, but I'm glad that she did it, because now like there's all these like photos and these memories, and you know, like I went to Hawaii with her it was like 2 years ago now, and it was just like me and her on like my spring break from school.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. Wait, you went on vacation, just you and your grandmother?
Yeah.
I love that.
She's amazing. Like, I love hanging out with her, and
oh my gosh, that's
and that's
so
just
precious.
That's what I mean, she's traveling, like she's doing like a whole like Euro trip right now, where she's in Europe right now with all her like girlfriends and their
grandma.
Yeah, she just emailed me yesterday like with the address for one of my family members lived in Studio City and just bought a townhouse, and she emailed me and then I was asking like how my life's going and stuff. She's like, oh, we just bought this and drove to the Louvre or something. And
okay, so the message is everyone needs to call their grandparents if they are lucky enough to still have them in their lives.
Yeah.
Holler at them.
Yes, no, seriously. I mean, she really teaches me every day, like, age is really truly just a number. Like, I remember there was a time when I was like 20 where I was trying to grow up a little too fast, and she would just like look at me and be like, "Okay, old man," or it was like almost daring me to like, "Why are you like? If I'm gonna go do this, what are you like? You can't be over fun, And so I think like that's, but like there are all these pictures I have of her on this Hawaii trip where. Like I had to like learn how to take a selfie with her because I'd never taken one before. Yeah. But it's just she and I like alone on this, beach or something. And she's like, well, we got to take a picture. We got to remember this. And I'd be like, yeah. And like, I love her. I look back at those pictures and go like, oh my God, like that was such a good time. Or
I want to go on vacation with your grandma.
She's awesome.
She sounds fantastic. That's like, those are my goals. Is I want to be like that old broad that's like traveling the world,
That is my grandmother like to a T. God. My brother and I are always talking about trying to just go. We never have corresponding times off. So like
of course.
Goals for me is like to get to a point where like I have, that kind of acting lifestyle, and I'm able to like what Amelia is doing right now, like being able to go and take a month off or something because I'm waiting for the next project.
Isn't that nice?
Like go travel with like my grandma and my brother.
I do that now, but it's not that I'm making that choice. It's that there's nothing happening. So I'm like, oh, you know what I should do? Start a podcast. Like, oh, you know what I should do?
There you go.
Film a web series. Like,
there you go. So I think that like there's something to be said, I think, for what you were saying about like capturing the moment, but it's also like you can't miss.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to take a picture at sunset to get the perfect light, but when you're done taking the picture, the sun's already set and it's gone.
Right.
Then what was the point? Or like, have you seen The Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
Oh my God, I love that movie.
The end of that movie makes me cry every time because like Sean Penn does such a good job sitting there with the snow leopard in his lens and going, you know what, sometimes I don't take it, and letting it run away.
Yeah.
And it's like he climbed this mountain, he went all the way to the top, and he's like, sometimes I leave it just for me. Yeah. And like that there is like, that's beautiful because sometimes like memory is going to be enough.
Yeah,
sometimes you can remember, there are things I have with friends where it's like, especially my best friend and I grew up in Scouts together and we were in a really like high adventure troop, and there's all these times where like they're just memories that he and I have that there are no pictures of. There might be pictures at the trailhead and when we get back, but there's no pictures in the middle.
If there was a picture, it wouldn't do as much of a service as the memories you have.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. I mean, that's the beast of social media too.
Exactly.
Is the finding, I guess, the right moments.
Yeah,
to
like
capture.
the healthy balance between.
Yeah, exactly. Like, is this something that I need to share with everyone? Like. Or is this, just for me? Is this just for me and my loved one? Like, whatever it is. But, yeah, I feel you. So, all that just basically was about how Chloe works in social media.
Yeah,
So, there's that. But, yeah, that's one of the many aspects that makes us feel very real to me. The characters are real, what they do. Surprisingly, I mean, even though he's a professional baseball player, it was never like he felt so above everybody or like set aside apart from everybody. Like he was very easygoing. He, there's the whole storyline with the kids in the park and he, has no problem just talking to them, playing with them and everything. So I liked that. Chloe doesn't wear matching bra and underwear. I liked that. I was like, whoa. What's funny too is because there's mention of it when they first hook up where he's like, wow, she's wearing like polka dotted underwear and a white bra and I love it. And it was funny because right after I read this, I read another book, and the guy did the exact opposite. He's like,
she's wearing the same matching.
I love that she's wearing matching pants. Yeah. That's so hot. And I was like, oh my God. Just goes to show you, just the differences. But
but I don't know. I've never understand why, you have a preference because, for me, you're on the way to something.
Right.
I don't really care.
It's coming off.
Yeah. That's my thing is, I always feel bad if, a girl, in the past, if a girlfriend had, dressed up in something, I'd be like, I'm either going to tear it off, which I'm going to feel bad because you either spent money on this or you went through all this work to get into it, and then I'm going to get, way too impassioned and rip it, or I'm gonna like, or I'm not gonna see it because I'm too busy like seeing you.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm too busy.
No, but I'm just saying like, but like that, but you know, like it doesn't matter. You know, when guys have like a preference on it, it's like if you're really attracted to the woman, it doesn't matter what she's wearing. She could be wearing a freaking like triple XL shirt or something, or she could be wearing like a paper bag. It wouldn't matter. She's the woman that you're into. Like, there's very little a woman could wear, and if you're already attracted to her, that would then make you go, I'm not attracted anymore.
And I can't speak for men, but women are very self-conscious about their bodies, just in general. And I mean, obviously, I'm not, you know, I feel like that really is applied. I know it's like a generalization, but I feel like we're all self-conscious about something.
Oh, 100%.
But it's one of those things where every guy I've talked to, speaking in heteronormative terms, has been like, you know, a woman might say something, oh God, I'm worried about like, you know, getting intimate with somebody because like, you know, I don't like my hips or my thighs or whatever. I'm like, and every guy I know is like, believe me, like that is not what we're thinking about. It's like when it gets to that time, if things are coming off, that's we really aren't focused on what exactly is going on in your body. Like,
especially if you're really into the person, like that's it's if it's more of a like fleeting connection, a one night kind of thing, like. Then it usually is because you both like the look of each other, but you know that's what that is.
That's going into
exactly.
It, like a physical attraction.
Whereas like if it's something more than that, which is like what I think we all hope for, then like in that instance it doesn't really matter, you know, like you're especially if you guys have had a little bit of time together prior to the clothes coming off, you're just like zeroed into the person, you know. You don't. I just made a gesture, and none of you can see that.
That's
so,
okay. It's okay. You heard it. You heard
you
that
heard
gesture.
my.
There was like a hand motion.
There it is.
Everything. Well, Chloe and Finn definitely wait a good amount of time before hooking up. I want to say it comes like I want to say he comes like 200 pages into the book almost. Like it's definitely a good chunk of time. I have to say
because I have the kissing scene here, and that's at 127. So it's like that's the first time they're intimate. So it's like that is quite a ways in.
Right, and you know what? But like we said, it goes by so quickly, and like they've got this like kind of like verbal tug of war foreplay going on.
Which that in of itself is very sexy. Like that.
Yeah. There was never a moment. I've read books before where I'm like, oh my God, just please fuck. Yeah. Like, you know, but this wasn't one of them. Like, I really did enjoy watching their whole discourse and just kind of like falling in love. And because that's one of my biggest pet peeves with reading romance novels is too often I feel like it's just for the sex. Like, you know, and that's, I mean, I consider that like erotica more, is that you're reading it with a very specific goal in mind.
Yes.
But with romance, I'm like thinking most people read a romance because they're anticipating this happy ending. They want to see this couple, whoever they may be, fall in love and it work out. So sometimes I feel like the love aspect is missing. Yeah. And while this one has a ending that perhaps isn't my favorite,
there it is. Yeah.
I did feel the love. Like I definitely felt the whole falling in love story.
I think it's a job well done, or like you've definitely accomplished something when you can be reading like anything. You can be reading a book and all of a sudden like someone does something and you go, oh, Finn, come on, man. Like, because that happens a couple times. Like when he storms out of the room, I was reading it and I was just like, I literally think I looked up and went, this motherfucker right here. Like, where, like, but that means you're into it, right? Like, if you get mad at a character,
we actually talked about this in one of our other reviews this month when we talked about their discovery. Was there would be lots of moments where I'd be very frustrated with a character, and I told Gabby, our guest, I was like, but I think this is like a conscious choice for the author that they want us to be frustrated, like because it's real, like because these are real emotions, like the little spat that they have in this book, because you know there's always got to be the spat moment. Is where it's not that they fight or have this big blowout, it's that neither of them are talking to each other, and everything could be resolved with a simple conversation, which is so fucking real.
No,
like, that
100%.
Is such real life that we just have such a lack of communication, and that drove me nuts. But I was like, okay, I can buy into this though, because this is what would happen.
Yeah, because we've all been there where like the ego gets bruised or something, and like it's hard for you to, you know, I mean. I think, you know, there may be some men in the world who have a problem saying sorry and admitting they're wrong. I think there's a few. Not all of them.
Yeah.
All men have that problem. No, but like I think that like I even find it sometimes when I've been in past relationships where it's like, and I consider myself a pretty open person, but like still there are times where like things happen and I'm like, I'm not wrong, and you're like, but does it really matter? Like at the end of the day, what matters more, her or your feelings,
or this one specific moment of like, yeah, no, I'm with you. Well, and sometimes it's hard to like see that side unless it's like in retrospect, like you'll like look back on it and realize like, which is why I like when people kind of in relationships take time to like think about things like before just being like, I'm sorry, like unless you know what you did was wrong. Like if you need to like step back and like, it sounds so like, now go to your room and think about what you did. But it really makes sense. Think about what you did. Like think about how that was interpreted. So I get that. And that's basically what they do is, have their little moment apart and both realize, well, this is stupid.
Yeah. Like, absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? So I guess sometimes you need that, right? Where you're like, I really miss that person.
Right.
And like, it doesn't matter, right? The whatever it is that we fought about, like it doesn't matter. It's not important
in the long run. Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes it is, but not in this book. Okay. Anything else? What are any other things you really liked about the book, or?
Yeah. I mean, I think I was surprised at how, at how like aroused I got by the book. Like there were definitely times I was reading where I would be like, damn,
this is
good. I had some guy friends ask me about it, and they were like, so what's this like book you're reading for? Reading about this podcast you're doing, and I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like just like verbal porn. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I mean like not in like like we all watch porn, right? And they were all like, yeah. And I was like, so not in a gross way, clearly, because we all watch it. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, but like in a like it like definitely
porn had a story.
Yeah, and not a.
And you were actually attached to these people.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. I think that's what got me more than anything else was like, just like we were talking about like sexting before. It's like a well-written message can be a lot more effective than just like not that pictures are bad, but a well-written message for sure. So I think that like that surprised me that I'd be reading things like, damn, hey, can you turn on the AC?
Well, and to be fair, I mean, I think it just goes to show too that it's really not. Like, the sexual content that's in it is not the most explicit thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
But it is really hot. I mean, that's kind of like what I loved about it was I thought it had this great balance of, I mean, it really is that verbal foreplay. I'm like, ooh, yeah, like,
like, I don't know. For me, it's like there's it's very attractive if a woman like corrects my grammar or something. Like if I'm into just in general. Like if I'm into her already and she's like. And she like corrects something that I've said, I'll just be like, everyone leave.
Yeah.
Leave me and her alone.
Whom?
Yeah. I know. I would be like,
baby.
Whoo!
That's it.
Yeah. So like.
Wow. So now we know a lot about the type of women you're looking for in your life.
I like strong, like very intelligent women. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. They have to be, authoritative in their field, and they need to talk good grammar to you.
Clearly, I'm just giving people a roadmap for how to, because so many people are lining up. So I
mean, they will once they listen to this podcast. That's for sure.
But I think that like that. I think the verbal foreplay, I guess, is really important. I think they always say like you got to have a good foundation, have a good relationship, and a lot of times that means friendship. But I think the ability to like. Be able to take getting onto each other's nerves a little bit is really important, I think, for because you're all going to do it, right?
Every couple needs to take a trip together.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or like or like I don't know, live together, cohabitate together, not permanently for
and first, the one for me that I'm like this is like a must is like you have to build IKEA furniture with me. Like I don't want you to build it for me because I fucking rock at putting together IKEA furniture, but. I just remember like a time when my parents were putting together and they would just be like, blah, 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 blah. My mom always jokes like, we almost got divorced because of that table. And I'm like, no, for real though. Yeah. Like, so I'm like, you need to be able to work with me and not like.
Yeah, no, see, I always end up being the one that puts the furniture together. So clearly I'm doing something wrong. Well, it's more like I'll ask. I really do. Like,
That's
I'll always
fair.
be like,
That's
do you
fair.
want to put this together? Or like, I'll put it together. And they're like, well, why don't I do this and you do that? And I'll be like, okay. Like, I feel like the IKEA trip is like, for some reason, the trip to IKEA is rough.
That's
Even
a
if you
whole
guys
hardship.
have like, even if you guys have like similar taste, there's something about, I feel like IKEA is like a journey. And so like you start that journey like midway through, you both get kind of like hangry and tired.
You gotta keep going.
And, yeah, and you're just like,
back now.
you're like, oh, you would choose that. Something like that. Where like I remember being with couples who've been in IKEA and gotten into a fight, and then you're just kind of like,
and it's so big that it's like you have to keep going. Like the arrows are pointing you towards the exit. You have to follow the directions.
Yeah, this is a whole metaphor for your relationship. So just keep swimming.
There's another novel. I feel like there's another, but maybe that can be in our baseball player personal organizer story.
There's a whole point where midway through the novel, there's a power outage and they're the only one in there, and they're stuck in the middle of their relationship. There's one big only ones in this IKEA. It's a Tuesday afternoon, and and they have to sort out their differences inside an IKEA.
They have to sort them.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I am loving this more and more. Like Robin Bielman, if you're listening and you're like, you know what, I need an idea for my next novel because she doesn't have enough to do.
Take it and run.
Go for it. We give you full permission.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I am loving this. I am so on board.
Here we go.
Okay, let me tell you one of the things I didn't love about this book. And again, this is me being a nitpicky asshole. Is Finn's mom gives him a puppy in the very beginning, which I'm like, it's not that I don't love puppies, because who doesn't love puppies?
There's a dog in here right now, so.
Right? Oh no, he left us. The dog was here,
Noodle
but
knew that,
you know, Nathan
one of his
started
moms,
talking about arousal, and he was like, oh,
Noodle
I'm
was
out
like,
of here. But I love the puppy. Finn is like hesitant to accept this puppy at first. His mom's basically giving it to him because he's bored and she wants him to have something to do and someone to hang out with. And I don't know, the whole puppy storyline, I kept waiting to play out a certain way. Like he basically becomes very attached to the puppy, and then halfway through the book gives it away to these children, which I'm like, okay, I get it. Like this is meant to show you're a nice guy and you're, again, humble, very easygoing. And one of the kids had cancer, so it was meant to be like a healing tool.
Yeah.
And then he saves the puppy from getting hit by a car and injures himself again. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, again, like, nice guy, we get it. Like, you're willing to sacrifice yourself for this puppy. But then I just didn't really see the payoff. Like, I was like, at the end, is he getting a new puppy? Like, what's going on with this dog? Like, I kind of feel like I could have gotten this same information if it was just a relationship between him and the kids at the park. Like, he, you know, saved one of the kids from getting hit by a car, or, you know, it just seemed like a vehicle for him to, like, get to the kids, basically. That was a good
car pun. Yeah.
Thanks.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that, like, you could have cut a lot of that out and just had it been, because, like, in the beginning, I wasn't so sure about Finn, but by the time you get to that point, I was like, this dude's clearly a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And like, and that's, I don't need to know, like, and just talking with the children, like, I feel like that was enough, you know, like, what more does a interested woman want than to see a attractive man be kids. Good with children? Yeah, you know, like that's, I mean, that just goes down to the same thing with guys and girls. Like, you see a girl that's good with a kid, you're like,
wife material.
Yeah. Like,
wifey.
Because if you're into her already and then she's good with children, you're like, Jesus.
Add it to Nathan's list. Here's Nathan's perfect woman list.
Yeah, let's...
No, I mean, I'm with you. If I see... I don't even... Honestly, and I don't see myself with children in the future. I work with kids, but when I see a man holding a baby, I'm like, you could be... It doesn't even matter who you are. You could be a serial killer. And the fact that you're holding a baby is like so fucking hot. Yeah. Like,
it's like biologically hardwired into all of us to like someone who's good with child rearing. And so, like, I think that would have accomplished it in and of itself. And I don't know, giving away the puppy, like, that's hard, because I think anyone who's a dog person, like, the idea of, like, I'm wearing like a dog tag around my neck right now. That's how much I miss my dog. So like that, that I think, if you like really love and get attached to a dog, it's hard to imagine giving it away. I feel like you could have been more of a, like, I don't know. I don't know that was. I think, like you said, just having more of a relationship with the kids at the park.
Yeah.
Maybe choosing to go back and like bring them some gear from something like that, where it's like
he implied that like he's going to do that.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that was part of it for me too is like, I feel like him saving the dog in the end is like the metaphor for like he's putting something above his baseball career.
Yeah.
Because he, this whole time talks about how he can't get attached to Chloe. He can't get attached to anything. Like, he has to focus on baseball because this is all he's ever been good at. This is the thing he does. So I almost wanted, instead of him saving the dog, for there to be a moment where he was putting his relationship above above his career. Like, I was like, what? I don't know what that would be, because I'm not saying I want him to save Chloe from getting hit by a car.
Yeah, that'd be
like,
a little extreme too.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, it would have been more about specifically, what am I risking my career for you? I'm risking it for us, like, to be together. And I don't know what that moment would have been in this book, but I didn't want to feel like the relationship was like an afterthought. And there were definitely like a little bit of that at the end for me, especially when they jump in a helicopter and jet off to Vegas.
There's our Down with Love moment right there.
There
right?
it is in all its glory. Shout out to the Cutaways podcast, who just did a review of Down with Love, so everybody should listen to that. But I mean, because she has this curse, which of course it made sense that came back later on too, that she thought he was with another woman for like a hot second. And but the fact that he like whisks her off to Vegas with a proposal in a helicopter to go get married immediately, I don't know, that was too much for me. Because like, for me, it just felt like, I know they love each other, but it felt like he was doing this like to prove a point. Yeah,
I don't think that's ever like a good reason to do anything. Or also, I feel like the social implication of like someone going off to Vegas to get married is usually that it's like the shotgun wedding analogy. Not that there aren't successful shotgun weddings. I know there are, but it's like, it's more like usually in storytelling, if someone runs to Vegas to do it, it can oftentimes be very short lived. You know, like, and that, like, I saw over the weekend or something that Sophie Turner and one of the Jonas Brothers got married.
Joe Jonas.
And
he gave her a ring pop.
That's very Deadpool. To reference it for the second time. But I was just like, but they went and got married in Vegas like last minute, and I was like, or not last minute, but that's what they went and did, and I was like, you guys have all the money in the world.
Yeah.
You wrote "Burnin' Up" and like
anything,
whatever other Jonas Brothers song there is, and you're in Game of Thrones, so the two of you have so much money. Why would you go do that? And again, I'm sure that hopefully they're married for like ever, and it's beautiful and wonderful.
And I think they're planning like a big, a real wedding,
like a reception thing or something. But it was just more like, I don't know. Maybe I'm too jaded and I just don't know what it is to not be able to wait to marry someone or something.
Right.
But I just, to me, I was like that. I would have been fine with like the, like crazy elaborate Barney Stinson proposal or something where he does this huge thing and it's in the, before the first pitch of the big game, he gets down on one knee on the pitcher's mound and
it doesn't surprise me that it would be on this baseball field. Like, he has it in his backyard. They've been out there several times in the book. I get it.
So like, I feel like that was a little bit
too much.
Yeah, it was like you're trying to wrap it all up really quick at the end. Like you're building this whole thing, and at the end you just kind of like threw a bow on it, and we're like,
especially because for me, she has this curse like haunting her about the boyfriends finding somebody else. But I feel like when she's found him and they're together, and they say I love you, and that should be like the thing that she puts behind her. Like, I don't want that to still be like and he proposes because he's like, I know this is still like a lingering doubt in your mind, and I'm like, she shouldn't have this doubt. Like, if she knows, and I mean, I don't, we can't always like know, but it's like, if this is the one that you're gonna be with, like, that shouldn't matter anymore. You should know that that's not part of your life.
Well, I think it's like, I understand it being hard to like get over something sort of, but at the same time, it's like I felt like it was slightly askew. Like, it was almost right on the money, but I feel like it was just ever so slightly kind of off and slightly tilted, and it could have been more of a, hey, look, like, I know you're worried about this, but like, for me, this is everything.
Yeah.
And the only way I know how to show you is gets on the knee, does the ring.
Exactly. The proposal, I feel like, would have been enough.
Yeah.
Right? We gotta Down with Love our way out here on a helicopter.
Apparently.
So
Everyone watch Down with Love.
God, I'm going to go watch it again. That movie is gold. I love it.
If you like Ewan McGregor, then...
Well, and how appropriate, too, because Doris Day, as we're recording this, Doris Day just passed away yesterday.
Yeah,
and Down with Love is basically like a campier play off of all the Doris Day Rock Hudson movies.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's meant to be. It's meant to be. R.I.P. Doris.
We keep losing all of the greats.
Oh, God,
and we're not replacing the greats that quick enough.
Oh, God.
We keep losing some, and then I'm like,
better.
we got like 2.
Gotta up our game.
Where are the legends?
God. Okay, what else? Well, okay, I have like silly little things like Chloe had the weirdest taste in food combos. Like that I just was like, and you know what? I like weird food combos. So I feel like everybody has like 1 or 2 things they eat where people are like,
Why do you eat
what?
that?
Like when I was in middle school, my friend Alex and I, we invented the peanut butter and mustard sandwich. And it was just that we both liked peanut butter, and Alex pulled out mustard from the fridge. This was like after school one day. Slapped some mustard on it, and I was like, bitch, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And I took a bite, and I was like, this is really good, actually. Like,
what?
Yeah.
Wait, yellow mustard or like brown mustard?
Like plain yellow mustard, yeah.
I would never have thought those two things go together.
Why would you? You know, and so
That's so interesting.
Like, I would bring a peanut butter and mustard sandwich to school sometimes, like, and it was really good. So, I mean, if you like mustard and you like peanut butter, granted, I haven't had one in like 10 years, so maybe I was just like a garbage person, like in 7th grade.
No, just prior to your taste buds changing, I guess, or something. Who knows?
So, but in this one, let's see, there's 2 that really stood out to me. One was that she dips string cheese in Nutella.
That's just wasting time. Let's be real.
Right. I'm just like,
you have a hand.
You have a hand, you have fingers, you have spoons, like there are so many better things. And then the other one, which I could maybe get on board with, and I'm going to test this theory at Thanksgiving, is it was like a bite of pie, I can't remember if it was apple or pumpkin, and then a bite of stuffing. So, I get the whole crumbly thing,
sort of
crumbly pie, but I don't know, like, because stuffing's like a little more savory, right?
And like for me, I feel like with pie, you usually want like some kind of cream to soak up the flaky like crust, right? You have to find that perfect pie margin where like the ice cream's been melting just long enough to not make it soggy. Right. You still got the sort of a crunch, but the ice cream's not melting. It's like a beautiful kind of perfect.
You're an ice cream and pie person.
It's like a magic hour, you know? Like you gotta. It's right before the sunset. There's still light. It's magic hour.
Light before the sun sets.
You know, the night is always darkest before the dawn.
So do you do ice cream with your pie, or do you do whipped cream?
I'll do either, whatever people have.
Or all of it?
I'm really not a super picky eater, so like I eat kind of the same thing every day, so I just kind of like, well, it's easier to like meal prep that way, right? So it's like
now
I
I'm
always
curious, like what's a meal in the life of
Nathan
Brown?
It's usually chicken breast of some kind.
For breakfast?
No, for breakfast I usually have like overnight oats because they're really easy.
Good.
Peanut butter and jelly overnight oats. Shout out to Center.
Do you do peanut butter and jelly?
Yeah, so it's like there's this thing that Chris Hemsworth started called Center. It's CENTR. Okay. And it's all like after him having been Thor for all this time, he's all about trying to kind of create more healthy and holistic living.
And so it's like hot man with a baby, by the way.
Yeah, seriously. And so it's like $15 a month or something. It get you like all these cool workout plans. I did it because there's one of the trainers does a lot of like special ops kind of mobility training, which is a lot of ground like crawling work and stuff. And then they have all these like a lot of them are like gluten-free, vegan, like meal options and stuff. And then they have like yoga and Pilates in there, so you can like do that. And usually they'll build you a day where they're like, eat this for breakfast, listen to this meditation.
Gotcha.
And it's really cool, but you can pick and choose. And so one of the recipes I got from there was like, they call it peanut butter and jelly oats, where it's like 2/3 cup of oatmeal, 2/3 cup of milk or almond milk, 3 tablespoons of Greek yogurt, and then you like crush up some raspberries and put some chia seeds in there with a little bit of maple syrup.
Okay, so this is like legit. It's not really like I'm taking a scoop of peanut butter, scoop of jelly, and putting it. It's like the natural.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I use like powdered peanut butter instead because it's like 83.
Powdered peanut butter. Yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's called PB Fit, I think, and like it's like 83% less fat or something in there.
So if you like fit meals like Nathan, that's the way to do it. If you're a fat ass like me, you take a spoonful of peanut butter and a spoonful of jelly, and if you really want a treat, you like cut up some banana and like pop all that into oatmeal. That's like one of my favorite things. That sounds amazing. Yeah. So
see, I have no aversion to those things. It's just that like
no, you're I have to be right way.
I have to try and be on it. But other than that, like
easy way.
Every other meal of the day is usually like either broccoli, green beans, Brussels sprouts, or asparagus, and chicken breast, and like a 4th cup of brown rice or sweet potato. Like I just kind of do that every day for every meal because I'm not super picky, and it's like
that's good.
For me, eating is usually more about trying to like it's more about sustenance than it actually is taste.
You eat for fuel.
Really, truly. Yeah. And it's like everyone's like, it's not, I ate like a whole pizza yesterday because like I was like cheat day and I like sat down and ate an entire pizza. But like I try and avoid that as much as I can. So there was a point, pie. Yeah, so like.
That's what it all comes back to.
Yeah, like I like pie and ice cream, but if you have whipped cream, I'm not going to be like, how dare you?
I'm like a pumpkin pie with whipped cream, but then like apple pie, you gotta heat that shit up in the microwave or oven, and then put a cold scoop of ice cream on top, and it's like...
Because you see it like sliding around on top of it.
So good. Talk about essential dessert. Yeah. Oof. There it is.
You get some ASMR or whatever going on in here. Just plump the ice cream on top of it and be like, do you hear that? And like, yeah.
Okay, speaking of sensual desserts.
Yes.
Do you have a specific moment from this book, a sexy moment, if you will, that you'd like to grace us with? You know, those acting chops?
I think so. I guess because I'm so freaking lame that it's like the most soft version of sexuality, but whatever.
That's not lame. That's sweet. Own it.
Yeah, okay, so this is like their first kiss. She says, before I can back away, he catches my chin with his thumb and finger, tilts my face up to his. A foot, maybe less, separates our noses. My blood catches fire, waiting for him to make another move. Slowly he inches forward, giving me time to pull free. Little does he know the house could be falling down around us and I wouldn't move. The tug toward him on some cosmic level I'm powerless to ignore. His lips graze mine lightly at first, a barely there brush that nonetheless melts me on the spot. He kisses one corner of my mouth, then the other, before he settles in fully, adding a touch more pressure. He moves against me with care, appreciation. I don't know, I think that's very sweet.
I like that. Okay, mine's not sweet at all. And that's because this is right after they went to like some party or ball or something, I don't know, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do you my way. And then we go into... He rips off my thong like he has laser vision, the dainty material simply falling apart. All I know is the only thing between me and the bed now is Finn's mouth. He tastes me from behind, lifting my hips just enough to give him access, and it is heaven. His clever tongue flicks and licks, and when I feel the pad of his finger at my rim, I come so hard I see the stars he promised.
Yeah. I mean... that's something that like...
You have a book with those two...
Yeah, right there. You want to talk about range. Like,
yeah.
But also, like, I mean, who doesn't want either of those two things?
Oh, for real. I mean, I'm a fan from anything that's, like, happening from... And it's, like, from behind. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Like, it just automatically gets, like, a little naughtier.
Good morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no.
So,
yeah, that's what I mean. He's like, that's what I'm talking about, like ripping it apart. Like, I feel bad. You probably bought this underwear, but at the same time, I'm very sorry. Sometimes I don't know my own strength.
God,
my bad.
So funny, so funny. I love it.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, then, now that we've dabbled in our lovely sexerves, I'm going to ask you to give the book 3 grades: one for story, one for syntax, and one for sexcapades.
Okay.
And this is on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the very best that it could possibly be.
Okay.
So let's start with story. What do you give Miss Robin Bielman's story here?
I feel like I give it like an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Like, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I think there were things, especially like what we spoke about at the end, where I felt like it was a little bit wrapping up, but I can't falter too much. Like, Stephen King read some of the greatest books of all time, but he can't end a story half the time for, you read like the end of It, and you're like, what?
It's
it was
so
a
funny.
giant spider creature the whole time?
Yeah, of course.
You know, like, sorry, spoilers for the new It movie, but
there you go.
There's a lot of It. You just read the.
Yeah,
sorry.
just read it. No, I feel like there's a lot of authors, anybody who's in writing, I feel like will tell you that it's either the ending that's the hardest or the beginning that's the hardest. And I definitely, depending on what project I've written on, have found both of those to be difficult. Like, when I start writing a project, I always start with the ending first because I need to know
you work backward.
Where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And then I go back to the beginning, and then it's a matter of, like, filling in the points.
Okay.
But that's just my personal preference.
Yeah.
Like, I know everybody is completely different with how they write. So, I'm with you, though. I would give the story, I gave it an 8, because I really appreciated it. I would read it again, too. This is something I would read again. I do want to read the other books in the series when they come out. I think they're about Finn's brothers.
Yeah.
Who are in this, a good amount, and they're charming and fun in their own ways.
Yeah.
So I give it an 8. I'm here for more. I'm ready for more. How about Syntax, Miss Robin Bielman's writing?
I'd give it like I'd say 8 as well. Like, there were times that there was more good than bad. I felt like a lot of the writing was like, as we discussed, like, it was either really hot or I felt like it was the right amount of descriptive. There were times I felt like they were kind of like stray adjectives here and there, but like because there were some points I didn't need that much description on.
Thick, hard, throbbing.
I mean, that stuff, fine. No, no, it was more like things where it would be like in the middle of a conversation, it would be like his green shirt. I don't know, something like that, where like it would be a little bit too overly descriptive. That was a terrible example. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But everything else, like most of the time I was reading it and I'd fly through like 15 or 20 pages and I'd be like,
same.
wow. Okay, so I would say 8.
Yeah, I give it a 9. I found it really relatable, and I used the word casual, but I wrote not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Because I felt like this is one of those books where you don't have to think a lot, and I don't want people to interpret that as being a bad thing.
No,
I love being able to read something and just know exactly what's going on, and I don't need to turn backwards to like double check on things. Like, there was never a point where I was confused or didn't understand what was going on.
You don't want to be reading like Vonnegut or Hemingway every day. Well, Hemingway isn't really confusing. Hemingway is just kind of like long-winded.
Yeah,
he's very long-winded.
Exactly.
I love it, but like he's very long-winded. Whereas
same.
Vonnegut, I feel like sometimes you're reading and you're like, is this a joke, or is this like, wait, did this happen before? Or like maybe like I'm just dumb, but like I definitely have things where I get lost. I feel like people think
you're never gonna have that in romance. I've read several romance where I have to like constantly flip back and forth to remember who people are because there's so many characters. Or wait, is this a conversation we had before? Because this is coming out of the blue for me now. So I mean, it's not just applicable to classic fiction or fantasy, because I know that's why I stopped reading Game of Thrones, was I was like, I am so fucking lost. And you know what? Some people probably get lost in this in a great way. For me, I just feel lost and confused.
Yeah.
That's not what I want. So I give it a 9 because I found it very charming, very relatable, good balance of narration, dialogue. I'm on board. Sexcapades.
I think for me,
variety.
Yeah, I think for me, because like I'm such a like newbie to this, or like a romance novel virgin, that I would say 10, just because like I don't know any different, right? I think for me, I was like, it was plenty hot.
I mean, not comparing it to other things, did you like what you read?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, like again, I kept reading it. I'd read it and be like, I'm really glad I didn't try to read this at work, because this would have been awkward. So. Yeah. No,
that's good. I gave it an 8.5.
Okay.
I thought the sex scenes were great that were there. I really did. I thought I had to wait a little while to get into them.
Yeah.
And they were all kind of concentrated in like the same section of the book too.
Yeah.
Where it was kind of like, I feel like this is typical too in books that I've read. And I guess typical in relationships too is that once you start having sex, you continuously then have sex. And that's not a bad thing. I like to see it spaced out a little bit more. Maybe.
In fact, I guess even in a relationship, like you almost you get worried, like if something happens to one of your lives and you're not having as much sex as you did, like if there's like a normal gradual walk down of sex, then you're like, okay, but like, if you met someone, you guys started having like a crazy amount of sex, and then they get like a promotion at work and you're never seeing them, and suddenly you're like, did I do something wrong?
what is this doing to our relationship? And so, I feel like, and it's like we talked about too, about how sometimes, when it's just like a hookup, you just like jump right into it and that's it, But I feel like I've talked to people too. In fact, we had somebody on this podcast, Ethan E-Money. He's from Are You the One? And he talked about how he was dating somebody. He's like, I felt like we had sex too soon because then it kind of like set the tone for like, this is our relationship now. Yeah. It's like, we have to keep doing this. And like, did we not spend enough time like getting to know each other first? Yeah. And so again, like that wasn't the case in this book. Like I felt like they knew each other plenty by the time they did have sex. So I really enjoyed it. I don't think I'd read Robin Bielman before, and I really liked this book overall, and I'm curious to see what else she's got, and so I definitely will be checking out more.
Yeah.
How about you? Do you think you're up for reading another romance and or another Robin Bielman romance?
I think I would. I feel like it's something that, because it's not been a part of my life thus far, I think it's something that I could easily forget to do. But like if someone was like, hey, read this book, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's right, I read one of those, and I'd totally go for it. I think like I have nothing against it at all. If anything, I don't know if I ever date anyone again, maybe I'll read a romance novel with them or something like that as a way to
there you go,
spice things up or keep things alive.
Maybe you'll pick one up on the aisles of Ralph's.
Be like, hey, read this book on page 300. That's what I'm gonna do to you later.
I know. You know what's funny too is like if you go to like a library sale or just the library in general, and you scour the books of the romance section, you can usually judge how hot it's gonna be because when you open up the book, usually the sexiest parts are
fall right open.
Yeah, they fall right open to it. You're like, ooh, okay. So we know people have been reading this book because it opened directly to page 243. Like,
go to the front cover and be like, who signed this out last?
Yeah, exactly.
I wish they did that still.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. If you decide to dabble in more romance. Would you want to read the other brothers?
Yeah, I'd read the other brothers. Yeah.
Cool.
It'd be interesting to see kind of how she further humanizes them, I guess,
Yeah. And it would be cool because you would probably see Finn and Chloe in those books too. I'm not sure how much of them, but I feel like they'd still be there.
If they get married, if the other brothers get married, I'm sure Finn and Chloe would be at the wedding. So it's that would be kind of cool to revisit old characters that have moved on or having a life and stuff.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, something to be read for another day then.
There we go.
Well, thank you for reading this one though with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And for re-podcasting with me again. And so again, for anybody who follows us on Patreon or would like to get a little bit more extra content from us, there will definitely be some excerpts from our previous sad recording. It needs to be shared with the world.
There are for sure conversations on there where I'm like, wow, I talked about that for so long.
Yeah, and everyone needs to have more Down with Love and Vampires in their lives.
There you go.
So if anybody needs to write that book that we've been talking about too with the personal organizer and baseball player, we are here for consultations.
We're here for it. Yeah.
So
we can do a quick outline. Just hit us up. Let us know.
We're here.
Yeah.
If you need us
all day.